This is Sheila Cox, 5-star real estate agent in Katy, Sugar Land, and Richmond, Texas. And this video is about the home buying process in general and option periods in particular. Now, option periods are very unique to Texas. I think Texas is the only state that does option periods. So even if you've bought a home before, if you bought it in another state, this is going to be new to you. It's different how we do. Some states call it inspection periods, or they call it other things, but you really need to know about this. It's one of the most important things about buying a home in Texas is option periods. So in general, the home buying process, and I understand some of you have bought homes before and you've gone through this process before, but I'm just telling you it's a little bit different, or maybe a little bit different in Texas. For example, in Texas, we don't use attorneys to do closings. We have title companies. That may be something that's new to you. I think most states do use title companies, but if you still use attorneys, and we do not do that here. I mean, you can hire your own attorney if you want to go over the paperwork, but we do not have attorneys handling the closing and the title paperwork. So that's just one difference. But so generally speaking, the home buying process, it's going to start with your home search. Of course, first we're going to start searching online. Hopefully you've already had me set up a custom home search for you and you understand the benefits of that. So you're going to search online and you're going to narrow your houses down, and then we're going to search in person. We're going to go on a home tour and we're going to find the house that's right for you. When we find that house, so the first phase of the process is the home search. The second phase is when you find the house and you want to make an offer on it. And so that's the contract or negotiation phase. And that's where I'm going to write the contract. Actually, before I write the contract, I'm actually going to do a CMA on that house. I can't do CMAs on every house that you want to look at because there's no sense in wasting 2 or 3 hours on houses that you're not even interested in. So once you find a house that you're interested in, then I can do a full price analysis. See, I don't play this would you take game that a lot of real estate agents play out there. You know, the listing price is really completely irrelevant to me. I'll just tell you that because so many listing agents or sellers overprice their homes. So I have a good example in my pricing video, and I do recommend that you watch that pricing video to get the details of how you accurately price a home. But I'll give you a quick example. If a house is listed at $400,000 and you get it for $350,000, that seems like a really good deal until you find out the house was only worth $300,000. Then it's not such a good deal. You see what I'm saying? So when you find a house that you're really interested in, I'm going to run the numbers. I'm going to give you the data. I'm going to do a CMA. We're going to find out what we think the house is actually worth. Because if you're like 95% of the home buyers out there, you're going to have to get a loan. That means the lender is going to send a neutral third-party appraiser out there to appraise the home. And if they don't think it's worth the loan, they're not going to appraise it. If it doesn't appraise, then that's a whole nother set of issues. And you need to watch that video because I have a real in-depth video on, well, not real in-depth, but a video on appraisals. But back to the process, you're going to find the house, then we're going to write the contract once we know what price you should offer, and we're going to go through the negotiations, and that could take anywhere from 24 hours to a week, you know, depending on going back and forth. If we get in a multi-offer situation, it could take a week because they're going to take all the offers, then they may ask us for a final and best, get everybody's final and best, and then choose the right one from there. So it just depends on the house, but you should expect contract period to go anywhere from 2 days to a week. Now, we do not write deadlines on our contracts like must respond in 24 hours thing that they do in other regions. We don't do that here. It's common courtesy and it's commonly done that most of the time we get a response within 24 hours, even if the response is submit your highest and best. So you usually know within 24 hours. I, of course, can always contact an agent and get details. And if you decide in the interim while you're waiting that you are tired of waiting, we can always withdraw an offer. So don't worry about that. So after contract period, let's say we get a house under contract. Then we go into this what's called the option period. And this is a very important legal process in Texas. Now, back in the old days when I bought my first house in Texas back in 1992, this was a buyer beware state. Texas was definitely buyer beware. The contracts were all written in favor of the seller. And so if you had a good agent, a good buyer's agent would have to write in all these contingencies and all this legalese into the contract. And the Texas Real Estate Commission doesn't want us doing that because we're not attorneys. We're not lawyers. We can't write legal clauses, or we can't write them very well, and you should never have an agent that's writing legal clauses in your contract. My broker frowns on it to a great deal because that's where people get in trouble. Real estate agents are not real estate attorneys, okay? So instead of having all this contingent of the inspection and contingent of this and contingent that written into the contract, Texas came up with what's called an option period. Now, most option periods, and all of it's negotiable with the seller, okay? But generally speaking, 9.5 times out of 10, option periods are 7 to 10 days. They cost you $200 to $400. And what you're doing is you're buying the option to back out of the deal for any reason within that time period. So, when the contract is executed, that's the start day. Executed means everybody signed. The seller signed, the buyer signed, everybody signed and knows the contract's in play. That's your execution day or your effective day. And then all the deadlines start from there. So if you get a 7-day option period for $300, okay, it's negotiable, let's say that, 7-day option period, you have 7 days from the day the final contract was signed by everybody to get all your inspections, to check surveys, insurance, to do your due diligence. I do my special home report, which is pretty awesome. You need to watch the video on that, see what that looks like. I'll put a sample down in the video below, but because I do a lot of extra due diligence too, like flood zones and sex offenders and all that kind of stuff that no other agent does, or at least they don't do until I show them how to do it. So option period is our due diligence time where we do all the inspections, and you're going to need a house inspection and termite inspection minimum. You may need a pool inspection if you have a pool, environmental if you're super sensitive to environmental issues, and so on and so forth. So get all the inspections done in that period, and at the end of that period, if you're going to have multiple choices. One, if you find out something you really don't like about the house, you can back out of the deal, which is exercising your option. You're going to lose the $300 option fee, but you get your earnest money back. Okay. Now you don't get your inspection fees back. If you did an appraisal in that period or a survey or anything, you don't get that back, which is why I recommend you don't order appraisals or surveys until after the option period, but you do get your earnest money back. So if you found out something horrible about the house, or even if you just change your mind, you can exercise your option, lose that option fee, but get your earnest money back. Now, another thing that can come up during that period is, with any home, no home's going to be perfect, right? Because the inspectors don't think they're doing a good job unless they CYA everything and tell you everything that's possibly wrong with the house. So you should always expect, $1,000, $2,000 worth of stuff that the inspector is going to tell you that's going to need. But if big ticket items, like we find out the HVAC system's not working correctly, that could be a big ticket item. So that may be an issue. Or if you find out there's foundation problems or whatever, or lots of deferred maintenance that really added up. At that point, during the option period, we can go back and renegotiate and say, hey, we want a seller's contribution to pay for all these repairs, or hey, we want you to do these repairs, or hey, we want a reduction in price, which I really don't ever recommend, because unless you're paying cash, reducing the price doesn't help you get all that stuff fixed. The two best ways to get repairs fixed is either have the seller do it ahead of time, but of course they're going to hire the cheapest bozos to do it, so I don't recommend that, or get a seller's contribution, which is a credit that reduces the amount of money that you owe at closing so that you have more cash on hand after closing to pay for the repairs yourself. So we have to negotiate that within the option period. After the option period is over, you've got the house pretty much, unless something else major comes up. But you have to negotiate the repairs during the option period. If you back out of the deal, you lose your option fee, but not your earnest money. If you keep going with the deal, then your option fee is going to be credited at closing. So it's like you didn't spend it at all. You get a credit at closing for that. So that's good. What else do I need to tell you? So that takes care of the option period. To get an option, though, one other thing that's very important is you have to pay the seller directly or their listing agent the option fee within 3 days, not business days, 3 days of executing the contract. If you don't pay that option fee, that $300 within those 3 days, and you can't prove it, then you get no option, even if it's written in the contract. The only way to get the option is to deliver the option fee within 3 days. Okay, so you need to be aware of that. It's critical that you do that. If you're out of town, or out of state, out of country, then we're going to look at either doing a PayPal or a Venmo so that you can PayPal or Venmo the seller directly. If that doesn't work, we can come up with another workaround, but you do have to deliver that fee in a timely manner, and that's not negotiable. That is hard written into the contract. So time is of the essence. So that explains option periods. After, if we get through the option period and we keep moving forward, then we move into the final phase where there's still a whole lot to be taken care of. You're going to be dealing with your loan and getting all your loan paperwork in. The title company is going to be giving you your title commitment. That is ensuring your title policy. We need to get the survey ordered, perhaps. The appraisal has to be ordered. HOA compliance may be an issue depending on the neighborhood. Insurance, you're going to have to check out your homeowner's insurance or select your home warranty. So there's going to be a lot more after that, but we put all that stuff off until we get through the option period, because I don't want you to spend any more money on the process than you have to. I don't want you to pay $400 or $500 for an appraisal, $400 for a survey when you're going to back out of the deal anyway. Now, one other thing to notice about option periods, the seller cannot back out for any reason. Option periods are great for buyers, not great for sellers, because when a house is an option, pretty much nobody's going to go look at the house, so the house is off the market, but the buyer can back out for any reason. They can just change their mind and pay the option fee. So it's not great for sellers, but it is great for buyers. So if you have any questions, let me know. The final phase, of course, is the closing. We go to the closing table, sign all the documents, and pay for, and pay the cost that's going to come up. So that's your closing. So that is the process of buying a home in the area, as well as details about the option period. If you have any questions, send me an email.